Nelson. I'll be your host throughout the day, and we have a great day planned for you with lots of exciting guests and speakers, and I'm certain that you'll enjoy the day. But first thing we want to do is give a big thank you to the individual who supplied your breakfast. So please join me in welcoming and thanking Jonna Thompson, who is the owner. Jonna is the local owner of 3 Subway stores here in the great metropolis of Circleville. And we thank Jonna for her participation and for her help this morning. Let's give her another round of applause. To get this day started off right, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the president of Ohio Christian University, Dr. John Kalaga.
It's great to have you here. I remember way back when I was in high school, it was great to get off campus. It was just great to do a field trip. I remember they pulled the horses around and hitched them up to the wagons, and we got to leave campus. So that was a great time. It's good to have you here. I was told today, I want to first of all welcome you on behalf of the 3,000 students that attend Ohio Christian on campus, online, and our graduate students. We have over 64 majors to help you serve our culture the best way you can. And we have 18 teams, including our new sport this year. There's still a little argument as to whether it's a sport, but we just started esports on campus. So we have a new activity. We have a brand new esports room that we're one of 12 colleges and universities in the state of Ohio that now have an esports team. So on behalf of all of them and all of our faculty, we want to welcome you. I was told today there were 3 purposes of today. One was to educate, one was to inspire, and one was to give you some practical things to do. So I just real quickly, today as you listen to different speakers, leaders are, there's 3 things that happen to every leader. The first thing that happens is that they are called out. And you've been called out. You were called out of your classes today, you were put on a bus, and you were brought here. So leaders are called out. And then as you listen today, there's something inside of you that's going to resonate with something that's said, and it's going to inspire you. And that means that there's something inside of you that's being called forth. You're going to be motivated in some way. And so you've been called out, but the purpose for being called out is to have something within you called forth. And the last thing, eventually, is that when you go back to campus, you're going to be called on. You're going to be expected to do something with what you've learned. And that's what we do at Ohio Christian. Our job is to educate. Our job is to elevate, and then to send you out in the culture to alleviate something that's going on. So we hope that as you go throughout the day, that you will learn something, and you will love something, and you go out and you'll lift someone because you were here today. Again, welcome to Ohio Christian University.
One of the great things about being around a university like Ohio Christian is you get to rub shoulders and rub elbows with some pretty great people. I've had that opportunity over the years that I've been here, and that opportunity is presented to you folks even today. And a couple of those fellas, those individuals that I would consider in that category of great individuals are Dr. Joe Savage and Phil Savage. And they're here today with us. Dr. Joe Savage is the CEO of Roads of Hope, an organization that's helping orphan children in Yugoslavia find safe and loving homes. He's the past president and founder of Winners Influence, and he's a nationally recognized motivational speaker with the distinction of speaking to all 32 NFL teams and other major U.S. organizations such as the Coca-Cola Company and NASA. Phil Savage currently serves as senior advisor for the New York Jets. He's the former general manager of the Cleveland Browns. Have you ever heard of the Cleveland Browns, folks? Huh? Yeah. He's a former general manager there. He's the director of player personnel for the Baltimore Ravens, earning his own Super Bowl ring during their 2001 Super Bowl championship campaign. Most recently, Phil served as the executive director of the Senior Bowl in Alabama, a game we always look forward to seeing in the spring to see what the NFL prospects look like, and he works with that organization. So please join me in welcoming to our platform Dr. Joe Savage and Phil Savage.
Good morning. I'll say this, as a former GM of the Cleveland Browns, there's a lot of those kind of guys out there, right? Over the years. Most of you are not Browns fans, Steeler fans, Bengals fans, Patriots fans, Chicago Bear fans. So who's your team? Bears, Eagles.
That's a standard. There's no home loyalty at all. I mean,
That's what happens when the Browns have been in this drought all these years. They've
Well,
lost
they're in between the
young
Bengals and the
people.
Browns, so I would go out of state and pick a team too.
There you go.
Just saying. Hey, how many of y'all, we're interested, just kind of kick things off. How many of y'all play a team sport as opposed to individual sports? How many of you are playing an individual sport, like tennis and golf? All right, let's narrow that down some. All right, how many baseball players do we have? Great, I was a baseball player, not very good, but I played. How about track? Any kind of track, cross country? Wow, a lot of runners. All right, how about tennis? Golf? Two golfers. All right, football? A lot of football guys. Basketball? Well, I know it's the same basketball. What am I leaving? Softball?
Volleyball.
Volleyball? Cross country?
You named that already.
What else am I leaving out? Esports?
Esports.
That's an esport.
Soccer.
Soccer. Did I not say soccer? My apologies. Well, guys, that's awesome. Thank you for being here today. We're honored to be here. I live down in Lower Alabama on the Gulf Coast, and I come up to Ohio Christian University, it seems like every September, and then we basically they have a sports management program here, and so we take those students, some of those students, to Mobile, Alabama every year. And Phil used to be the head of what was called the Reese's Senior Bowl, and that Senior Bowl is the college all-star game for football across the country. And so what we would do is, and every year, is we take students from here down there, and they hobnob, they learn from all these different NFL guys, and then we begin to branch out into University over South Alabama, and then we do sports tourism, and we do golf, and we're all over the place and learning how to manage in sports. Best week is sports management program put on by anybody in the country. I'm very honored that they come down every year as a part of that. So I can't say enough, and thank you everyone who's done some work to be here, coaches, ADs, thank you for bringing the student athletes today.
Hey, before we get started, I know some of you raised your hand as a football player, but I want everybody to stand up because we're going to make everybody a football player this morning. Does everybody know what a snap count is? Quarterback comes along and says, down, sit, hut. When we say we're going to go on one, we're going on the first hut. We're going on two, it's on the second hut. So what I want you to do is everybody stand up where you are. I'm going to give you a snap count, and we're going to clap our hands when it's time to go. So the first snap count is on the first hut. The first hut. Down, sit, hut. Let's go on two. On two. Down, sit, hut. False start on the Mid-State League. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down. Let's go on that second hut again. Down, sit, hut. Now we only have 40 minutes to work with you guys. Let's see if we can get through this. Second hut, down, sound, we call that going on the color. Blue. First sound, going on the color. Blue. All right, I think you guys got it. What we're going to start with this morning is I've spent the better part of my adult life going out and looking at college athletes and trying to figure out, do they have the physical ability, the mental skill, the emotional stability to ultimately be drafted into the National Football League and make a career in the NFL. And as a matter of fact, this afternoon when this conference is over, I'm flying out to Kansas City. I'm going to Kansas State, and then Arkansas by the end of the week to look at these various prospects that are draft eligible for the NFL. So how does that relate to you? I can tell you that if I had been 15, 16, 17 years old and had been offered an opportunity to come to a leadership summit like this, I would have been one of the first ones there. This is such a unique opportunity for you to hear the perspectives, not only from Joe and I, but from a very variety of people that are coming from all different backgrounds of life. And so how does this relate to you, the NFL, to you as a soccer player, or volleyball player, or golfer, what have you? I would say and suggest that over the years I've come up with 4 C's for success. And if you can master these 4 C's in your own individual life, then you'll have a chance not only to be, quote, a success in your sport, but beyond that. Because truthfully, athletics is just an avenue. It's a venue to get you prepared for the rest of your life. You know, the ability to win with grace, to lose with dignity, the idea of working really hard and it may not go so well. The idea of sometimes getting the lucky break and winning a game that maybe you shouldn't have won. But all those are life lessons that are preparing you for the future. But I boiled it down to 4 C's in terms of what it takes to really be successful and what we're kind of looking for when we go out to these colleges and try to find these players. Now, I know some of you may have a pen or a pencil, you can take notes. I would encourage you to pull your phone out and take notes today, not only in this session, but throughout the rest of this morning. And I know that most people will say, okay, I shouldn't be looking down at my phone because I want to be looking at the speaker and showing respect toward the speaker. But in our session, we don't mind you doing that because I would rather you put it in your phone and have it rather than try to remember what we say and then forget about it by this afternoon. So the first C is coachability. Coachability. Are you a coachable athlete? Are you a coachable person? Are you willing to give your eyes and your mind to that coach and then try to enact what they're teaching you? The proper technique, the proper fundamental. Do you have to be corrected multiple times? Or does the coach say it one time and then the player is able to do it? Coachability is a huge factor, especially when you're trying to build a team. Especially when you're trying to build a team. Because the coaches are going to have to spend extra time with certain individuals, and they cannot spend extra time with the entire team. So if you're a coachable player, not only are you an easier person to work with, but then you can also carry the message to your teammates. You can help the coach in your respective sport help create a better team. And so coachability is a huge, huge factor in terms of your ability to not only play well, but ultimately, if you're going into the business world, no company wants an employee who's not coachable. So learn how to be coachable. Learn how to become devoted to, I'm going to be the most coachable athlete, the most coachable student that I can possibly be. And it will give you a leg up on the competition. One last thing before I turn over to Joe, we'll get into a couple of other things. He's got some comments about coachability. Is that the theme of this event is called Advance, right? See, I look out at this crowd and I see a throng of young people. But there's no way for me to really differentiate between each of you individually unless I was working with you on your team. And so what I'm saying is you've got to figure out a way to stand out from the crowd in a positive way. It's easy to stand out from the crowd in a negative way. Be uncoachable, get in trouble with the law, all these different things that can happen. But in terms of trying to distinguish yourself from the rest of the crowd, hopefully these 4 C's can help you do that. And one of them is coachability.
And the thing is, I would say, and he and I talked about this last night. It's interesting about trying to be coachability, or the aspect of being coachable. I mean, last night I'm asking him, what's it take internally to be coachable, right? I mean, this morning, for instance, we were staying at the same hotel, and usually he's with his family, and I'm doing my deal, and you know, we're very, very close, and we cross paths and so forth. But he's such a master, Phil is, of maximizing time. And I made the joke about you'll go jog, you'll go run this morning, do sit-ups, do 10 emails, make 10 phone calls, and I'll still be taking a shower. You know, and that's the difference between he and I and who we are. But there's still one thing. It doesn't matter my personality, his personality, or what. Everyone can be coachable, right? There's no excuse ever in not being coachable. You might say, well, my coach stinks. I don't like him. Well, I've had coaches that's been horrible, terrible. But that doesn't mean that I still can't learn something or be coachable. Meaning, as Phil talked about, getting it and trying to learn something the first time. Executing what you've learned. And I don't know, maybe you want to comment on this. I think a lot of that comes from in the core of, I'm going to have respect for my coach. I'm kind of a respect, not just on the field or on the court, but also, we're talking about in the classroom, right? I mean, you've got this same thing that applies in the classroom or anything else you're doing, is to be a learner from the people around you. So this morning I'm asking Phil, what can I do? How do you go about choosing what to do when during the day? In other words, we didn't think of it in terms of me being coachable, but I want to learn. I want to be better. I don't want to waste life. You guys have such a short window as a student athlete, you know, and it seems like a long time, but then it's over. Y'all who are seniors, how many of you are seniors? I mean, most of you. This season will be over and done so fast this year. What can you learn? So you have a bad teacher. What can you learn from that experience that can apply it to the next? I think that we're all of us are in a generation that we want to leave what seems like, okay, I don't like that teacher. I don't like that boss. I don't like that coach. So, you know what? Forget them. I'm going to go do my own thing. Or I'm going to go to the next place to work. Or I'm going to go to this other place. And we jump around. Or my friends on Instagram, and I'm seeing what they're doing. You know, I need to do that. What my point is sometimes in life, the greatest lessons are the ones that you learn from having a bad teacher, having a bad coach, having a bad this, a bad that. Because it makes you learn how to deal with people that you may not agree with. And so you can be coachable even by those that you may not like. And that's called respect for the people that's around you, respect for authority, and simply saying, I'm going to learn what I can from every single situation. I know for me, I would say almost everything that I've learned has come from difficult situations. And probably the greatest lessons I've ever learned was really from the people that I didn't care for. Because I want to be better. I want to do better. I don't want to waste a year. I don't want to waste a season. Right? I don't want to waste all that. So it's connecting with yourself internally and having that drive. I'm going to be coachable. So revision, hey, I can see myself, I can do this, and being the focus in of what that coach is saying, that teacher, what have you, having that respect level, and regardless of what, having that something internal saying, I'm going to pull something out of this that's going to make me better today.
Yeah, and how are you coachable? I mean, what are a couple things that I would say? First of all, coachability is going to come through your eyes, first and foremost. When a coach or teacher is addressing you, you want to give them your eyes, because it is a sign of respect, and it's a sign of, okay, I'm in this, I'm with you. The other thing that I would say, and I say this to our own scouts with the Jets. I just went there over the summer, and we had 2 weeks of training before we hit the road in training camp to go out. And I said, you know, when you really boil it down, we're trying to evaluate a player's eyes, feet, hips, and hands. And in an athletic context, that's really, whatever sport you're playing, it's your eyes, your feet, your hips, and your hands. That's the technique, that's the vision of what you're supposed to be doing, and then the technique from the ground up. Feet, hips, and then what are you doing with your hands? And really, that's true of almost any sport that you're going to play. It's really those elements that are all tied together. So that's coachability. The second C of success is character, your personal character. Now, we've seen over the weekend, how many of you have followed the Antonio Brown story? Have y'all followed that story at all? He's the former Pittsburgh Steelers receiver, was traded to the Raiders, and then he's had all sorts of issues in Oakland, where, quite frankly, he wasn't that coachable. He wasn't available because he froze his feet off in a cryotherapy treatment in France. Showed up and he had frostbitten feet, couldn't run. Then he missed all the practices, missed all the walkthroughs and things. He said the helmet that he wanted to wear, he's been wearing for 10 years, the league didn't approve it. And it's just been one controversy after another, to the point that over the weekend, the Raiders cut Antonio Brown and voided $29 million in guaranteed money. He just walked away from it because he's not coachable, but then also there was an internal character somewhere in there that just did not allow him to have the respect he needed to fit into that organization. Now, he's gotten signed by New England, and they gave him $9 million, but that's only a third of what he was potentially going to make in Oakland. On top of that, Julio Jones, the receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, he just signed an extension over the weekend for $66 million. 64 of it is fully guaranteed. Julio Jones is a player that I've known since he was in the 8th grade. He's one of the few athletes out there that had such over-the-top expectations and has actually met them in high school, in college at Alabama, and now in the pros with the Atlanta Falcons. But he's making $66 million compared to the $9 million that Antonio Brown is going to make. So while everybody's saying, well, Antonio Brown's the big winner in all this because he's getting to go to New England and blah, 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 the truth of it is he's making about 1/6 of what he potentially would make if he had followed these 4 C's. And the second one is character. And your personal character in terms of how you treat other people, in terms of how you conduct yourself as a representative of your school or your team, and maybe more importantly, your family. Your family. You know, your name is as valuable of a commodity as that you have right now, is your family name. And that character, most of the time, character is going to come from your faith foundation, whatever that is. And so it is important to have some level of faith where you're reliant on something that's bigger than you. And I'm not going to suggest or recommend what faith direction you should go, but I do think it's important to have something that's bigger than you to say that, you know what, my faith comes first, my family comes second, my education comes third, and my sport comes fourth. And if you keep those priorities in order, in that order, then your character will reveal itself over the course of time.
All right, so I need 2 volunteers real quick. real quick. All right, you and somebody else. We got a guy in on. No guys want to do it. All right, so who else was over here? Both of y'all come up here real quick. All right, so I got with me a banana. I didn't get to eat breakfast, so I'm about to eat a banana. Okay? So there's your banana. There's your banana. This, I'm told, now I don't know who keeps up with this stuff. A banana is the most consumed food in the world every day. How many of y'all had a banana this morning? Anybody? See, I don't believe it, but that's what they say globally. Okay? Banana grows where? What y'all's names, by the way? Brianna and Jayla. All right, what y'all play? What sport? Oh, we didn't do cheer. I forgot about that. Huh? Okay, basketball and track. All right, so a banana, right? Y'all eat bananas? You like bananas? No, you don't like bananas, but you like bananas, right? All right, so you get a banana. How do you peel a banana? You do it from here, right? All right, you're gonna mess me up, so you're excused. All right, so you're gonna do it from here, right? Most of us grew up, or we think in terms of doing what? Peeling a banana how? Now you use your whole hand, right? All right, from the top down. Here's the bottom line, okay? Silly illustration, you'll see what I'm saying. So, you take a banana, and you know how it gets, if it's not green, it kind of messes up there at the top. Do you know, we say this is the top of the banana, right? That's the bottom of the banana. Bananas grow down in the jungles in Central America like this, not like that, okay? So, this is the bottom of the banana, not the top. Both of you call it the top, right? This is the top. So banana's growing out here, right? So animals, monkeys, whatever go over, and they don't have the same skill, so they're going to take their banana and they're going to just do this right here. How does that work? As opposed to jacking around over here, right? Trying to get the banana open. So instead you just pinch it on the end. Right? Why? Because those who live in the jungle, who eat bananas, know you just pinch the top and it peels open. My point is this. Most of us don't know how to eat a banana the right way. Why? Most of us think this is the top of the banana when this is the top of the banana. Why do we think this is the top of the banana? Why don't you think that's the top of the banana? Okay, bigger at the top and the bottom, right? Why don't you say this was the top? Okay, don't know because it's stem, right? Okay, because that's what we think. My point is this. You guys, all of us, are in a world where the world and people around us say, this is the right way to do something. This is the right way to live. Hey, if I want to be a part of this group, I need to hang out with this group on Friday nights after Friday night football and go drink. If I want to be a part of this group, I need to go over here. I need to be a part of this deal, just running somebody down with, you know, on Instagram or whatever, and just being negative. Or right? A bunch of negativity. Or turning around and saying, well, I can cheat because my friend cheats. Or so-and-so says I can do it this way or whatever. What Phil and I are trying to say to you today, and every speaker I'm sure can attest to this, is there's a right way to do something because the world is created in that way, and there's an upside down way of doing it. Most of life is we go about it the wrong way. That's the top, and it's harder to peel. Where I believe that God made things in a natural order. You have an order of the way things operate, the way things work. You want to get better, you work hard. You want integrity, you want to be honest. You want to do well in school, right? Don't cheat your way through school. Don't just because you look over and you can get one answer off somebody, don't even look to put yourself in that position. And all I can say is this, you got to make a decision before you get to a place of making a decision. And what I mean by that is this. You've got to, in your mind, know, okay, I'm dating, I'm with this girl, or what have you. We're going out after Friday night's game, we're going to do this, right? You got to make your decision that what you're going to do or not do before you get to that place of doing it. Does that make sense? You got to put in your brain and in your mind, and it's in your heart, it's in who you are, that you know what? I'm not going to cheat. You've already made that determination before you get there. I'm not going, like for me, I went to a school where people drink. I mean a ton all the time. It's craziness, right? And a whole culture was built around students going to drink on Friday nights and Saturdays. And it was like, well, you're not a part of the group. You're uncool. You're not this. You're not that. If you didn't hang out with these people to go drink, right? Well, I was raised in as such and had an older brother, fortunately, that led me in a really positive way, that you don't want to go down that route. You're an athlete. You want to maximize your abilities. You won't want to fall in that trap. So I had predetermined in my mind that when those requests would come and they would want me to come, my decision was already known. You know why it was already known? Because I didn't want to put myself in the position at the party where that would be going on to then say no. It's easier to say no here as opposed to in the midst of it. Does that make sense? And so there's a core and a character that's got to be inborn in you, and the world is saying, this is one way, this is the right way, and the bottom line is, it's not always the right way. Sometimes you have to live opposite of how the world says you're to live. And if you do that, I'm telling y'all, if you do the right thing in the right way, it will pay off in the end. It always pays off in the end. There's never a time in life that if you do the right thing in the right way, that it doesn't pay off. Because at the end of the day, you know that you've done what it took to the best of your ability, and that's all that you needed to do. This stuff that we've seen in the media lately, have I got to buy my way in and fake my way into different universities? Right? What the heck? I don't want something that was given to me that I didn't earn. I want to earn it. I want to go do something that's the core, that's the right, because then I can feel right about it. I can look in the mirror at the end of the day, and I can go to bed at night knowing I treated other people the right way. I did the right thing for myself, for who I am. And it all comes back to you can't live life oftentimes like the people around you. You got to choose and be stronger than that to live it in a better way, a better path, and that will take you a long, long, long way. Right? Let's give them a hand.
Let's move along to the third C of success, and that's competitiveness. You know, we're out there trying to evaluate a prospect's competitiveness, his competitive spirit. How badly does he not only want to win, but ultimately make it in the NFL? And your competitive spirit is going to help you persevere through some losses. And then also, it's going to help you enjoy those wins that you have in whatever sport that you're in. But that competitive spirit within you, you know, what I would say about it is that, how many of you know who Nick Saban is? He's the Alabama coach. They've won 5 national titles in the last 10 years. So I was the radio color analyst for Alabama for 9 of those seasons. Prior to that, years ago, there was a guy named Bill Belichick. Y'all know who he is? Coach of the Patriots. He was the coach of the Browns at one time before you guys were born. Did you know that? Any of you know that? So Belichick is in Cleveland, and Nick Saban is his defensive coordinator, and a guy named Phil Savage is like the defensive assistant, an understudy to these 2 coaches. Well, at that time, we didn't have any idea that they were going to become the greatest coaches of this generation. But that's in fact what's happened, one in pro and one in college. But what I would say to you is that Nick Saban is the most competitive person I've ever been around. You know, we would meet in the morning, watch tape, and study the opponent and all that, and then we would go down as a staff and play basketball. And Nick Saban wanted to win every game. I mean, he'd get down there and, you know, your elbow and stuff. And I finally earned some respect. I didn't think Nick Saban liked me at all for a solid season. And then we started playing the Winter Basketball League downstairs. we started mixing it up some. And that's when I earned some respect from him, because now he saw my competitive spirit come out. And he's one of the ultimate competitors that I've known over the years. But your competitive spirit and the will to win and the will to prepare to win is extremely important in terms of whatever vocation, whatever direction you're going to go.
I don't have much on that. Either you want to win or you don't. And what I just said in the character side of things, do it the right way if you're going to win. Win the right way. And it's not just competing to get on the field or a court like we talked about. It's sometimes, and maybe you can address this better than I can, Phil, it's competing against yourself. It's, you know what, I need to compete against me. I want to do better myself. I want to improve my grade from a C to a B this year. Or I need to, be able to take this challenge. Maybe you don't play it down. Maybe you don't get on the court. But that doesn't mean that you can't compete against yourself. It's not always the opponent that you're competing against. Oftentimes, and I would say more times than not, it's competing against yourself before you ever step foot on the field. Would you agree with that? I mean, it's that self-discipline.
Yeah, it's an excellent point to make in terms of, I think one thing that all of us struggle with is figuring out who I am and where I stand in all of this. And, if you're the third string player, third string forward in basketball or the fourth string tight end in football, what have you, you've got to figure out, okay, how can I compete against myself to get better so that perhaps I can get into a position for playtime. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you might be a 5-star recruit in whatever sport you're in, and you're like, I'm the best player in my high school, I'm the best player in this mid-state league, I'm the best top player in the state of Ohio. But for that person, you have to realize that, you know what? And this is truly what's different for you guys now as opposed to when we were growing up, is that we live in a world society where you're not only competing against those in this surrounding area or in the state of Ohio, but when you really think about it, if you're a golfer or a tennis player or a swimmer, you're really competing against people from across the country and maybe on the other side of the globe. As I go to these different colleges and all, one of the things that's so striking is that, especially when you go out to the West Coast, how many international students are on those campuses. And a lot of these colleges lean towards taking more international students. And so if you're wanting to go to a USC or a UCLA, or heck, even Ohio State or Penn State, you're competing not only against the people in your circle right here, but also against those that are from other parts of the globe. And so that competition, that hunger, that desire of what you're really wanting to be, having a goal and reaching for it is super important in terms of finding the ultimate success within yourself.
And I'd say one more comment to that is, go after whatever it is that you're doing. You want to be a basketball player? Be the best basketball player you can possibly be. Does that make sense? If you want to do whatever, even if you're not the best, it doesn't mean that you can just kind of concede to not being the best. You can be the best you, the best person that you possibly can be. For me, for instance, we were born twins 4 years apart, okay? A lot of commonalities. People get us confused all the time. When he was with the Browns up in Cleveland, I lived in Cleveland, true story, and the Browns went 10-6, I think it was. Cover of ESPN magazine, it was all this hype, just like it was coming up until last Sunday, right? All this hype. And Phil Savage was the leader. I remember being in Cleveland, here's a billboard, "In Phil We Trust," and all this stuff. And so people get me confused because I go around Cleveland, restaurants or whatever. Or I'd be down on the field and people were like, Phil Savage, and I'd wave and just, be Phil Savage. The next year, you got 4-12, I think. I mean, it was bad. right? Bunch of injuries. It was really, you know, just a difficult season. I'm down on the field and these fans are saying, Savage, you suck! You're terrible! Right? That would be like pointing over to him, right? I didn't want that heat. The thing is, our differences is that while a lot of people get us confused because we might look a little bit alike, and a lot of things we do things almost exactly alike, there's so many things that's different. Like for instance, and he might correct me, but like in school, he could just show up and make A's and not hardly do anything. True? It's true, okay? I've come along, and there's a number of factors that played into this. I finished second from last in my graduating high school class. No, there's only 36 of us, but still 34, 36. I struggled to make a C. Absolutely true. When I would make a C, my mom would take me to Popeyes to get fried chicken. That was a big deal. Okay? That's before the sandwich came out. If I made a B, there's a famous bakery down in Mobile. It has great cupcakes and brownies. If I made a B, my mom would take me to Pullman's to get a brownie. I have no idea what I would have gotten for an A. And PE didn't count, right? An A in PE. For me, for instance, I went through a time in my life where I had a speech impediment that was really bad. You know what speech impediment is, right? Can't say things quite like other people. And I went through an incident in 7th grade. Actually, a coach, a basketball coach / English teacher, embarrassed me in front of my peers. And I sat down that day and I said to myself, I will never speak in public again. In 7th grade through 12th grade, I never spoke in public unless I absolutely had to. And here's the deal. Because I had this speech impediment, I go to speech therapy and this and that and all this stuff, right? For me, I would spell things like I was saying things. And then I lost confidence in what my abilities could be. And I had some exceptional other students. All those other 33 ahead of me were brainiacs. I mean, Ivy League types, right? Everybody was ahead of me. That's what my mom kind of taught me. Oh, they're all just super smart. It's okay. You're really smart. They're super smart. You're smart. But the truth is, I struggled along. I had to go to special reading classes. I had to go to special this, special that. And what I said was true about just struggling to make it. I would bring all my books home and study. And I mean, everything I could do was that difficult. And when this teacher told me that, I was like, forget it, man. I mean, I'm not capable. And I go through high school, and then for me, I felt like God was calling me to go into ministry, start speaking, so forth. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't even talk right. And I went to Stanford University to play baseball, and then I was asked to go play overseas during the summer. And I'm in Moscow, back when it was the old Soviet Union, and they were going to have baseball as an Olympic sport. And I'm working with the #1 pitcher in baseball. And I have a translator, right? Because they speak Russian, and I speak Alabamian. And it's different than what you guys speak, by the way. And I'm standing here talking to these athletes in Moscow. And it dawned on me that when it gets translated, they didn't know I had a speech impediment. So I turned around, man, I came to life. I'm like, this is awesome. They don't know I can't talk right. So I came to life. When it's over, our team director and coach comes to me and is like, where'd that come from? Because I would go back and not participate, not talk. If I was in a small group, and even to this day, I don't like, it's uncomfortable for me to be around like 4 or 5 people. Especially if I don't know them, and if I really know them, I'll talk their heads off. And my point is this. When I came after that trip, I came back, they wanted me to talk on the sports radio station and this, and then different people wanted me to come and speak and stuff. And it ended up being that when I took that moment and I began to learn, my confidence began to soar. You know, I went on, and I struggled in college but did better. Then I went on and got a master's. Then I went on and got a doctorate. Then I went on and I've written 2 books, and Pat Williams, the GM of the Orlando Magic, has been the NBA star, a legend, calls me and says, will you write a chapter in my book? No, I couldn't hardly write. I mean, I could write, but special classes, struggling to make a seat. You see, I couldn't compete with Phil. I couldn't compete with my classmates. I had to come to myself to say, you know what? I'm going to compete against myself. And I had to learn how to work hard to overcome that. And it ends up being a doctorate degree and written 2 books. And wrote the #1 requested devotion, supposedly, in all professional schools. My point is, don't let your insufficiencies, your weaknesses, your inabilities hold you back from being who you need to be and who you want to be. You may not be the best. Well, be the best you. You may not know how to do that. Well, then if that's what you want to do, then learn how to do it. Does that make sense? And don't let obstacles and people who get in the way. You cannot have victory. This is one of those you write your phone. You cannot have victory unless you have an opponent. You don't win championships unless you defeat other people, right? Other teams. Same thing is true inside. You got to decide what it is that you compete against, and that's what you go after, even if it's against yourself of trying to become a better student, a better this, a better that. Does that make sense? That's all I got.
4th C, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to make a point about some of your own individuals, but 4th C is compassion. Your compassion for other people. Your concern for your teammates. I call it being a good teammate. You know, when I'm at Kansas tomorrow, I'm going to say, hey, how does this guy fit in with the team? Is he a good teammate? Yeah, you know, he's a real encourager. Or, you know, he's really just kind of operates on an island. He doesn't really hang out with the rest of the guys. Being a good teammate, wow, that really ties back into coachability. Because if you're coachable, then you'll want to be a good teammate because you want to help the coach make your whole team better. But compassion for others, having a heart for others, knowing that you've been blessed beyond measure in terms of your own athletic ability, your own intellect, and trying to help others, extremely important. And I think the guys, through the 30 years of being involved with major college and professional football, the guys who have a heart and have compassion and understand that they're extremely blessed, those are the guys that really are able to maximize their success.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on that. I mean, what I do now for a living, my daily job is I spend a lot of time in Eastern Europe. That's a hot spot for human trafficking. And the bad guys go after orphans. And for me, my life is dedicated to trying to help those orphans not be trafficked, but instead to give them an opportunity to have a better life. That's what I do. I'm very honored to do that. Just had 19 orphans over here for the summer, by the way. And people all the time were like, man, that's awesome what you do. Well, that's my calling. That's what, you know, for me, personally, that's what I feel like God's called me to do, and that's what I do. And I want to do it well. But not everyone's called to that. Like with Phil in his position there with the Jets and through all these years and stuff, and he's been in TV, radio, ESPN, all that stuff. For me, I've gotten to be involved with a lot of these different athletes and speaking to coaches and players and stuff. And y'all, I'm telling you, just kind of playing off of what you said, is when you treat other people with compassion, in other words, you care for other people, you're so much of a better teammate. You're such a better family member. You're such a better friend. You're such a better part to society. Just everywhere you go, trying to have in your mind that you want to be an encourager to someone else, help someone else, be a quick little blessing to someone else. And you can do that everywhere you go. You have to think in those terms. Last night, the athletic director here, Dave Berline, awesome man, gave Phil and I a plate of cookies, right? Took us over to the hotel. We're checking in the hotel. The lady, I noticed, she looked over at the cookies. Chocolate chip cookies. So I turned, I'm like, hey, you want a cookie? Now, I don't know who takes a cookie off of a plate that's wrapped in saran wrap, but she was, oh gosh, no, well, yeah, okay. Little tiny something, but that was special, I mean, at that moment in time, right? It's sharing your life with other people. It's just caring for other people, loving other people is a great principle in it, and it will go a long, long, long way. And you can be a leader on your team sometimes by not necessarily being the best athlete, but sometimes by being the best person who's an encourager to everybody else.
Going back to some of your individual goals, I think in today's society, we're focused on the Buckeyes or Alabama or the Patriots, and it's all at these elite levels. And what I would encourage you, especially as we stand here at Ohio Christian University, a small college, is keep the avenues and as many doors open as possible for your future in terms of what your college choice is. Just because you can't play lacrosse at Ohio State doesn't mean you can't go play at another school and have an enjoyable experience that may set you up for the future. I bet you guys wouldn't even recognize the name of the school I went to. I went to a place called the University of the South, otherwise known as Sewanee. Has one person in here ever heard of Sewanee? Okay, 3.
And those were all adults, by the way.
Yeah, the Sewanee Tigers. They won the national championship in 1899. They won 5 games in 6 days, and on the 7th day they rested. When I got there in 1983, I said, now I know why they hadn't won a national championship since 1899, because they recruited players like me. Because I certainly was not the height, weight, or speed to go play at an Alabama or Florida State, but I could go play at Sewanee. And that one opportunity, I had one chance to go play college schools, and that was at Sewanee. That one door opened, and then a world of possibilities expanded from there. Because through my connections at Sewanee, that led to Alabama. I was at Alabama for 3 years as a grad assistant, met a coach there, he carries me to UCLA. Get to UCLA, a coach I meet there says, hey, I recommended you to Bill Belichick at the Browns. I go there, and now all of a sudden I'm in this think tank of football geniuses for 5 years. Ultimately went on to the Ravens, won a Super Bowl, as I mentioned earlier. And so none of that would have happened if I had not been willing to say, you know what, I'm not good enough to play at Alabama, and I don't want to go walk on there, but I'll go play at Sewanee. So keep those possibilities open, and be open to small schools. Most of the people that I've been affiliated through the years with, a lot of them went to small schools, and most of them had an incredible experience at a smaller college because they got a chance to really find themselves and compete and play and get a quality education and not get lost in, a 50,000 student population at one of the major schools. And I mean, I'm not opposed to big schools at all, but I'm just saying that in a situation like most of us are in, keep that door open, because you just never know where that small school opportunity can lead to something else. The last thing, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask if you could tie in, because I know we're down to the last minute. This many seniors, if they want to play, and OSU's not recruiting them, right? University of Cincinnati is not recruiting them. How do you get to go play at a small school? For me, like I walked on and ended up getting a scholarship, but I mean, because I just wanted to play. You chose that route, and now here you are in the NFL this long. How do you go to a small school? You're an average athlete. You just want to keep playing.
Yeah, I think if you're a senior, you're a little bit behind the 8 ball because you're kind of in the last year of your academic life in high school. But I would encourage you to recruit yourself. If there's a small college that you're interested in, contact them, get in touch with them, send them your video, send them your resume, show up on that campus, try to get a campus visit to show some interest that, hey, I really want to come here. That's what I would say. I mean, you almost have to recruit yourself at some of the small schools.
Not because we're here.
There's a lot of Ohio Christian University coaches walking around.
Hear what I'm saying? Well, based on what he just said, and I promise you, this is not made up. Okay, based on what he just said, I would hit every one of these coaches. If you're a basketball player, you're a soccer player, I'd go talk to one of these coaches because they're around here today and say, introduce yourself, I want to play. And let them decide if they want you to come here or whatever. Do the same thing. Write other coaches. I ended up writing other schools just like, because you told me that, right? This was that many years ago. Because, hey, I'm interested in playing there. Find your way. That's what you want to do. Go play.
Last thing, real quick, last 30 seconds. We talked about the 4 C's of success. Overarching all of those 4 principles is consistency. Consistently being a coachable player and coachable person. Consistency in your character. Consistency in your competitiveness. And consistency, of course, in your compassion and dealing with others. So we appreciate the time. Joe, you wrap it up. And thank you so much for your attention. Have a great morning.
Thank you for who you are. It's awesome. Thank you for listening and paying attention. Have a great, great season. We'll be around for a little bit and so forth. If I can do anything, y'all find me. It's joe@roseofhope.org. And seriously, no matter what the topic, if I can help you, please just shoot me an email or what have you, or see me today. I'll give you even my cell number and call me or whatever. I want to be of help to you if I can be of help to you. I love y'all so much. I really mean that. I don't know you, but I love you. And thank you for being here. God bless y'all. Coaches, thank you so much as well.
All right, we are privileged to have a special guest with us here today that would like to bring greetings to you. She is Jackie Winden, and she is the Assistant Director of Operations for the Ohio High School Athletic Association. And here comes Jackie right now. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite here, Jim Hayes and the league, for allowing me to stop in this morning and say hello to you all. A couple different things in regards to the OHSAA. We host tournaments for you all, the regional, sectional, district, and state level, but some of the other things that we've tried to get involved in and tried to implement throughout the scholastic season is we've seen a decline in officials. We've seen some sportsmanship issues that come to our desk that we have to deal with in terms of student conduct or parent behavior or coach behavior. And one of the things that we challenge the student leaders and all of you to continue to do is to promote good sportsmanship. And one of my favorite quotes is, and they mentioned it earlier, talking about what your eyes see and what your focus in. And from the movie The Art of Racing in the Rain, has anybody seen that? The book is better. I encourage you to read the book. But it says that your hands go where your eyes go. Therefore, your actions dictate what you're focusing in on. And one of the initiatives that the OHSAA has started is our executive director, Jerry Snodgrass, started 4 years ago the Gold Megaphone competition. Has anybody heard of the Gold Megaphone? All right. For those of you that are on Twitter, I encourage you to follow our executive director, @Jerry_Snodgrass. And he is known to show up in student sections. He's been known to get on the road a little bit and tailgate and show up to some events. But if you hashtag Gold Megaphone, it's a student section initiative. Obviously, these guys are a part of it. And really what we're trying to do is focus in on the good things that are happening, because we know there's an awful lot of good things going on in our schools and at our athletic events. Not that we don't want to acknowledge some of the other issues that we're facing. We're going to handle those. But we want to promote and really allow you guys as student athletes to create an environment that you want to be a part of, which is the students going nuts, the signs, the banners, and the in-game experience. So again, @Jerry_Snodgrass, hashtag Gold Megaphone, and would like to see you guys at some contests and to jump in there and see what your school could win. So have a great day today. Good luck to you. I saw a lot of seniors out there. Have a great final scholastic season and year, and good luck to you guys and all the best. Thank you.
As I mentioned in the opening, being a part of Ohio Christian University allows us to rub shoulders with a lot of world-class people. Some of our professors, and many of our professors, and particularly one professor, reaches that world-class status, and she's coming to talk to you today. Dr. Sylvia McDonald is in her 15th year on the faculty here. She's a professor of psychology, was recently named assistant chair of math and sciences. She is a licensed Ohio High School Athletic Association baseball umpire, a veteran Mid-State League softball player with Logan Elm High School. Let's hear it for Logan Elm. Dr. McDonald now strives to help student athletes understand the significant role of cognitive function in their athletic performance. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sylvia McDonald.
To start with, I just want to welcome you guys, and I know you guys have probably already been welcome. There we go. So Mid-State League, being a member of the Mid-State League at one point, and my kids being a member of the Mid-State League, I always saw this logo. Do you guys get this logo? Okay, some of you are like this, and some of you. So your coaches leave, and I'm like, man, you're giving me all, talk to all these kids with no coaches. So, okay. But this is actually the 3 divisions. So when I was a student athlete, I had no idea there were 3 divisions. So we've got the Cardinal Division, Ohio, and Buckeye. So raise your hand if you're in the Buckeye Division. Awesome. Cardinal? All right, Ohio. Okay, so the reason why I am here is because they said, we're having this conference, we're having all these student athletes come in. We had a meeting, and superintendents and principals kind of have a problem with just letting the kids go without some kind of educational piece. I am that educational piece. But like Dr. Olson said, and I've mentioned, this is me. This is 1988. So all the older people in here are laughing. And my students are in here and they're laughing, but this is what happened. So I'm one of those rare individuals who left their area, went and got degrees and came back. So I'm like that mythical unicorn that left a rural Ohio town, went and got a PhD and came back. So I want to find the best multitasker in here. Who's the best multitasker? Raise your hand if you think you are the best multitasker. What do you think? Okay. Here's the scary part about this young man. Come on up here. Football at Amanda, and he's like, how do you know that? So this is Bobby Pratt, am I right? How scary is that? Where did your dad graduate from? What year?
70.
That would be 91. That was the year I graduated. So I looked down, I saw his kid, and I'm like, he was born in 72 or 73. No. So, your parents actually attended my wedding. So, you're the best multitasker. What makes you think you're the best multitasker? Okay, so what can you do at the same time?
Tap my head.
Great. Great. How good are you? Do you have your cell phone with you? Okay, did they make you turn it off when you came in? Okay. So how good are you at texting? Okay, how good are you at writing?
Not bad.
Okay. I think you get good grades, right?
Somewhat.
Yeah, you're okay. Okay, come on over here. So I've got this paper and pencil, a pen, you can use either one, set up for you. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to write a story about your favorite athletic event. So think about that for a minute. You know what that is? Okay, so that moment in your athletic history where it was the perfect moment. Something great. Have you had that moment, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's what I want you to write about. So, do you think you can write that down for me? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to write that down, and I want you to count backwards from 200 as you do it. Are you ready? Here, you can use tape. You can even go around. Okay? And you gotta do it loud, out loud, so we can all hear. And I'm gonna stand close to my microphone. Yeah. No, I don't need help. You're the multitasker, remember? Okay, are you ready? No, you gotta write me a story, man. I said story. Are we ready? And your buddies are like, yeah, Bobby, you go ahead, going up there. Look at it. Okay, you ready? Loud. Come on, come on.
199.
Okay, go, go. You got it right. Go, go, go. Come on. Come on, come on. Do you know how to feel? Come on, come on, come on. Okay, louder.
195.
Okay, keep going. Okay, okay. You have the time I. Come on, man. At least I can read it. You ready?
What was that?
Where was I at it?
194.
Okay, keep going. Loud.
93.
Okay, keep going.
190.
Okay, so this young lady in the front, look at her, look at her, look at her. Hey, no, 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 she's like, I'm never making eye contact again. No, put your shirt down. Look at, well, how are you looking at him? How are you looking at him? You're trying to listen, or you like, can the kid not down? That's what she's thinking, man. That's what she's thinking. But you have the time I won. Here, okay, I'll help you out. Get your cell phone. Get your cell phone. Okay, now you move over here. Okay, I'll even give you the time I won. Pick up from there, and you're gonna start at what, 193? Was that about where he was? 192. Okay, you ready? Pull up your notes. Yeah, how is it? We're Facebook friends.
Am I texting in?
Yeah, text. Okay, so the time, now you gotta count loud.
192.
Okay.
Am I finishing?
Yeah, you gotta finish the story and count. Come on, you're multitasking. Come on.
191.
Okay, come on.
90.
Okay, come on. Come on. They're all looking at you now. Look at them. Look at them. Come on. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. So what are we seeing here? Okay. So no matter what you've been told, your brain was not made to multitask. Go ahead and hop on down. So thank you, Bobby. Give him a round of applause. Lesson to learn, Bobby. You never know who knows you in Circleville. Right? Okay. So what we saw was it's just not going to happen. So you guys have your cell phones, and I love technology, so that's awesome. But needless to say, poor Bobby couldn't even remember his favorite memory of his athletic career enough to write it down or type it out and count at the same time. So that's why your teachers say put your phones away. That's why when you go to practice, your coaches won't let you have your cell phones. Now, Bobby helped me out a little bit because he said there are some things that I can do at the same time. So, what are those? You can walk and talk and chew gum. I'm doing that now. Going back and forth on the stage. Our athletic director put this up there, and I'm like, Dave, you should know better. I move. So I can talk, I can walk, and I can chew this gum at the same time. Now, Bobby did that. So do that now. Can you guys do that? All right. How many times have you been told to do that? 7 or 8. Yeah, well, probably a lot of times. Absolutely. So here's the thing. You can do some things with practice. I don't have to think about not getting too close to the stage to not fall off of it. It's part of automatic processing. We do that automatically. And here's why. This is procedural memory. It's muscle memory. These are things that our brain has kicked in gear and said, you know what? I'm going to find a shortcut and I'm going to stick to it. Because anytime we don't have to take brain power for simple things, that's what's going to happen. That's how we're made and that's how we're built. But here's another thing. Procedural memories are very, very, very hard to explain. So I need another volunteer. Okay, young lady, in the middle, your first hand I saw. Come on up here. So if you decide further your athletic career at Ohio Christian University, you're gonna have me for 2 classes, and I do this stuff all the time. You never know. You never know. So, I want you to explain to these 400, 500 students how you tie your shoes. Do you not know how to tie your shoes? Is that why you wear sandals?
But I like to take little things. Like
Take
that.
little things, what are the little things?
So like make a little.
Okay, do you see this? Put your hands behind. Tell them.
So I like take the laces and I like toss them so that they tie it.
Okay, you said tie. We're talking about tying. You gotta explain the steps.
I don't know.
Okay, you can sit down. Can you see? Can you see? Procedural memory is very difficult to do. So my oldest son played Division I baseball, and he was a catcher. And he was, they're 3, 4, 5-hole guys, so that means he was a power hitter. So he would call me and he'd be like, Mom, I finally got my swing down. Like, you're 20 years old. If you don't have your swing down by now, then we're all in trouble. And they're paying you a lot of money. So, if you don't have your swing down, and he would start to explain, well, I take my hips and I pivot and I push that back right hip, because he's right here, through the plane. And then my arms come forward, but I can't arm bar. And I'm like, that makes no sense. Because he's developed procedural memory. We can't explain that. It becomes very difficult. So, brain power. We know we have it. We know we have to have it in our game. And if it's not there, then we start to stumble. So we have coaches, rightfully so, telling you, get in the weight room, get in the weight room, get in the weight room. Work on your physical game, but I'm here to tell you that you also have to work on your mental game. It's just as important, and your brain is a very, very important part of that, more so in your cognitive processes. So, your brain also does what's called sensation and perception. So sensation is basic neural. So if I ask you, what do you see in front of you? You guys will probably say a flower, a person, a stage. That's all perception. So if you think about a person, what you're seeing is your sensation are things like shape, form, the light reflecting off of them. And when that doesn't happen, this is what you get. So what way is this person turning? Come on, guys. You're high school students. Clockwise, back, counterclockwise. Okay. Can you not agree? So, at this point, welcome to the blue-black dress that broke the internet. All this is basic sensation and perception. So let me help you. How many of you can see it both ways? Okay, if you turn, so this is how I can do it. If I look at it, when I look at it the first time, it's turning clockwise, but if I catch it out of the corner of my eye, I can make it change, and now it's going counterclockwise. You can trick your brain. It's very easy to do. So let me show you, if you can. So, this is the only GIF or GIF. And the guy who developed it said, oh, it's GIF. And I'm like, then you spelled it wrong. So this is the only GIF that I can find. It slowed it down a little bit. But what you see here is how, if we have form that is totally black in silhouette, we cannot see the details and we can't develop the depth perception. So, let me put this in your terms. You guys practice football in the daytime. You guys play at night. So you're using sunlight, which casts shadows, which makes forms a different way than that artificial light. You play baseball and the sun's in your eyes, that's legitimate because you're tricking your brain every single time. So again, the cognitive side of your game is vitally important. So this is the field of cognitive psychology. So some of you have probably heard that sports psychology is a thing. It is. A lot of sports psychology is cognitive psychology, and this is basically the scientific study of your mental processes. So these are things like sensation and perception, which we already covered, memory, which we talked about, problem solving. You have to solve a problem every time you get on the court, every time you get on the field, every time you go to the green, you are problem solving. And attention. And attention is huge. So, these are the important aspects of your game as much as the physical side is. So, whether it's multitasking, and we know some things we can't multitask. We know we can train our bodies physically to where that muscle memory becomes procedural. You don't have to think about it anymore, and that's your coach's goal. They want you to get in the game and react physically without having to think about it. So attention and concentration. This is a huge part of your game. Don't use concentration, attention, and focus interchangeably because they're not the same. So if we look at concentration, this is your ability to perform clear and in present focus. Focus, on the other hand, is the central point of your attention. And then one more step, attention is simply what you're observing. All of these have to be there. You develop the skill has to come first. And then these three things should always fall in line when you're at an upper varsity level. Now, I don't know if all of you are in here are varsity athletes. However, to get to the varsity level, you need to have these things, and it has to start with the skill set. So distractions, very common. So at this point in your game, you are going to be faced with tons and tons of distractors. Some are external. And I love that, I think her name was Jackie. Jackie came up here and she talked about the shortage of officials because of parents. I'm that mom. I sat behind the backstop and constantly complained to the umpire. I hate an umpire. I hate the ref. Absolutely can't stand him. So, I teach sociology here as well as psych. One of the things I teach is, if you want to step across a group that you discriminate against, whether you know them or not, then become one. So, 2 years ago, I decided to become an official baseball ump. Horrible. I am the worst umpire in the state of Ohio. Absolutely terrible. I can tell you the rules, I can tell you where I'm supposed to stand, and I can tell you what a strike looks like. But what I can't do is deal with the mom behind me running her mouth. That's me. So be nice to your umpires. Be nice to your refs, because they're distracted too. But that is an external distractor. People screaming at you on one side or the other. If you play football, I can't believe what they yell to you boys. Basketball, even worse, because it's tighter. It's a tighter environment. Volleyball, man. You go to serve and you've got a student section chanting? That's tough. That's an external distractor you cannot control. Weather. If you're playing in the slop on a Friday night, that's a distractor. Now, intentional opposing team, they can set screens. So my second son, huge kid, like 6'5", now he's like 320, in high school he was like 280. That's what college does, you start eating a whole lot. But he was the screen guy. He would just run up and do this. And all these little guys would just bounce right off him. Huge guy. And then the ref would call a foul on him. I'm like, he's still. But that's me, I'm screaming. Screaming in the stands. So you can have intentional distractors by opposing teams. You cannot control that, but here is what you can control. You're gonna have anxiety. You're gonna have negative self-talk. Negative self-talk kicks in tremendously in a high-pressure game and you step in that batter's box. The game is on the line, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, and they put in their ace who's throwing 90 miles an hour, and you've got to step in that box. And you've got a runner on third. And you're a power hitter, and at this point, you just got to get it out of the infield. That's when anxiety kicks in, and that negative self-talk, what if I fail? What if I fail? What if I fail? You can control that. You've got to listen. Fatigue. You guys are tired. There is nothing more exhausting than traveling and then having to get up at 6 o'clock the next morning and go to school. Here's the sleep on the bus. I know you're tired. We know you're tired. If you change your thoughts or your emotions in the middle of the game, it will affect you physically. Research shows that again and again and again. And this is what we call choking. So how many of you have been in a high pressure situation and have choked? Raise your hand. Son, you're sitting in the back. I want to see that hand up. Stand up, both hands. Absolutely. So, this is your Division I baseball player who's now a stats professor. Hats off to you. It does get better. Trust me. So, I've seen my own kids and I've been there. I've stepped into that situation, been at the plate, and completely choked. And it's usually a pop out to the catcher. Yeah, I feel you. I know. So what do? We know this, we have this information, what are we gonna do? So we know that concentration and attention is important, but what are we gonna do? What are we gonna focus on? The first thing is controllable versus uncontrollable variables. The controllable things. If you're tired, sleep. I know Friday nights are fun. I know bonfires are great. Go to bed. Use the weekend, rest. Physical prep, that's what your coaches are gonna say. Get in the weight room, absolutely. You can control your mental game. You can do that. Uncontrollables, past plays, you make a mistake, that's gone. You will never get that back. But you can learn from it and move forward. Visualization. University of Virginia, they have, before a game, they have all their batters go into the batter's box and visualize the ball coming from, say, a lefty? My left hand? Lefty on the mound. They visualize the arm angles and the speed, and they visualize the ball coming down, and then they take a swing. That's visualization. Great stuff right there, great research. You need to focus on what you want instead of what you don't want to happen. Set goals in the moment. You have to be in the moment. Setting a goal isn't, I'm gonna win this game. Setting a goal is, I'm gonna block this guy. I was in a softball game, playing co-ed softball. They put me on third. So I'm ready for, and in my mind I'm saying, this ball's not gonna get by me. This ball's not gonna, I knew he was a pull hitter. Power, boom! Shot down line, my glove went up, my glove went off, the ball went all the way to the outfield, and I looked down and my fingers just dangling. But I put a glove on it, right? My mind was set. I was attention where it needed to be, and I was focused. Be in the moment. Concentration cues. Set verbal cues. In the moment. If you're a golfer, go back to the basics. Sweep the grass. Sweep the grass. Sweep the grass. Your batter, through the plane. Hitting through the plane. So, I am out of time. Thank you for being attentive, Bobby. Hats off, say hi to your parents for me. Young lady in the middle there, thank you for trying to explain poorly how you tie a shoe. So, see you guys, have a good rest of the day. So, thank you.
Let's give a round of applause to Dr. In all honesty, she just covered a lot of ground. She covered about 5 chapters in my sports psychology class right there. So come on in and we'll show you the rest. We'll get you down to the details. All right, next session, we're excited to have these 2 young ladies with us, Dewan Shackelford-Vickroy and Tanya McClure-Harris. Dewan is the co-director of Buckeye Impact Health and Performance, Girls Leadership and Basketball Academy, and Ohio Impact Basketball, a 2004 graduate of The Ohio State University. Dewan played professional basketball for Sweden's top women's team. Tanya McClure-Harris played point guard for The Ohio State University, where she served as the co-captain for 3 years. After her basketball career, she earned her master's degree in organizational leadership, co-founded the Girls Leadership and Basketball Academy, which serves over 1,000 female athletes annually. Please join me in welcoming Dewan and Tanya.
Good morning. My name is Lindsay Smith, and I'm the athletic director at Wellington. And I got the opportunity to meet Tanya and D1 this past spring as my daughter played AU for them. And just became really intrigued by their stories. So I have a few questions that I'm going to ask them, and they are going to share a little bit about their experiences as high-level athletes and how that is translated in their lives today. So my first question is for Dwan, and it is, how has your sports journey impacted your life overall?
Okay, so first of all, welcome. I'm a former MSL coach. I was a head varsity coach at Harvest Prep, the Warriors. And then also, no longer in your conference, but I was an assistant varsity basketball coach at North Catholic. They left the league a few years ago, but I'm a former member of the MSL, so welcome. Thank you. And so to answer your question, Lindsay, I started playing sports when I was 6. My first sport I ever played was soccer. And my parents let me play whatever sport, pretty much whatever I wanted to, and they just supported me. They were just mom and dad and proud. I retired from playing professional basketball at 26. So 20 years of my life, my identity was being an athlete. My identity was competing against that person next to me and being the best, and trying to be the best at everything I did, and trying to beat everyone, all my competitors, my opponents. So there was a stretch, after I was done playing, where all of a sudden I began to look for a new identity. I got engaged shortly after I retired. A year later, I was married. A year after that, I had my first child. And so now my identity was now I'm a wife and I'm a mom. But I'd always been an athlete for 20 years, right? So after that, I'm looking for, okay, what can I take from sports, from my journey in sports? I knew how to compete, but there was no opponent. So I wanted to be the best wife. I wanted to be the best mom. And at times I felt like, I was probably failing at both of those. So I had to come up with, okay, who is the one? And how I do that is I always talk about our core values. So I had to come up with what were my top 3 to 5 core values that I learned as an athlete. So I began just practicing. So when I usually introduce myself, I say, my name is Dwan. I'm a child of God. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I'm a business owner. I'm a coach. I'm a mentor. All right, and so those were the priorities. Those are the priorities in my life. And how I ordered those is they're my internal checks and balances, which I got from playing sports. You get feedback. If I miss a shot, that's feedback, right? What do I have to do? Do I have to get my elbow in? Do I have to use my legs? Do I have to get lift? If I strike out, okay, did I swing too soon? Did I lift my eyes? So all these feedback in life help me arrive at my core values. Now, my checks and balances, as I'm sitting here internally, I said those 5 things, right? But I'm going, okay, where am I at in my life right now? Well, if I were to order it right now and how those align, I'm a mom, I'm a child of God, I'm a wife, I'm a coach, okay? I'm a business owner. Because right now, for all of you guys, when you go home, thank your parents. My life is, all my kids are in school right now, and I'm running kids to school, I'm picking kids up. My kids they're in dance, they're in basketball, they're in football. So that's number 1 in my life right now. I would like it to be my faith right now, but my kids have kind of risen up. So my checks and balances are, I have to realign. Because I have a lot going on right now, but I'll have to realign so where I'm a child of God comes first again, and then I go back to being a wife. My husband becomes my second priority, my kids become my third, and then my businesses, and then, coaching and mentoring. So that's what's very important. So I challenge all of you guys to find out, right now your identities are as athletes, and that's great. I was there once too. But what are your top 3 to 5 values, core values that define who you are? And practice those. When you're, 27, 28, or whenever you stop playing, or 18, 19, who am I? Okay, because they talked earlier, Bill talked about, the culture a lot of times defines who we are and determines what's right, what's wrong. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the correct path.
Yeah, that's great. I think sports are so valuable in helping us learn to prioritize, and I think that's a really important lesson. Do you want to add anything to that, John?
Well, at the Girls Leadership Basketball Academy, we always pick 2 to 3 girls to come up and tell us who they are. And so we would like to do that now. Just need 2 or 3 volunteers that would like to come up on stage and tell us, who are you? Who are you? Any volunteers?
In the back right
Yes,
here.
Come on over.
Come on
Come on up. Come on up.
Right here in the middle
Who
section.
else? Who else raised their hand? And we will point you out as well. Come on up. Because one thing. Come up on stage here. Because one thing we know, if you do not know who you are, someone will tell you who you are. Right? Introduce yourself and tell us.
Hi, my name's Cohen Grumbach. I'm a senior for Bern Union. I'm a captain of the football team. I run track and I swim in the summer. I play hockey for Ohio University's club team. I participate in Drink Brothers Big Sisters program.
Very good. Very good.
It's Tyler Householder. I've been at Bern Union High School. I'm a senior. I'm also a captain of the football team.
My name is Alexia Mobley. I'm a sophomore. I go to Whitehall Yearling and I play for the Kings basketball.
Very good. Clap it up one more time.
All right, we'll move to our next question. Tanya, can you tell us what valuable lessons did sports teach you?
Absolutely. Growing up, like Juan, I started playing basketball at the age of 5. I knew then that I had a love for the game. Progressed at a fast pace. Fast forward years later, coming out of high school, I was the number 3 point guard in the country, the number 7 guard overall. Was offered a lot of scholarship offers, and I chose The Ohio State University. Wanted to get up at OH. But I say that to say this. Coming out of high school, had all the accolades. I was on my way. My freshman year, I had the opportunity to start for the Buckeyes, and then came my sophomore year. And it was during my sophomore year that really played a major impact in my life today. My sophomore year, I remember going up for a layup and coming down awkwardly. And I knew then that something was wrong, but me being the competitor that I was, I didn't want to let my coaches know. I was just named co-captain, and as a sophomore, that's pretty unheard of, especially at the collegiate level. So I didn't want to let my coaches know that I was injured. I tried to play a couple games and had to let the doctors know that something was wrong. They did x-rays and found out that I broke my foot. And it was then that really defined who I was as a leader and as a captain. 3 things that I learned during my sophomore campaign and throughout my collegiate career was, number 1, I had to be a servant. I learned servant leadership. I was a starting point guard, and then I was on the bench. And that was hard for me because I wanted to be out there with my teammates. I found myself holding water bottles, getting towels for my teammates, helping the younger point guards along the way. And it was tough for me, Coach, DeJuan Shackelford, she knows she was my teammate. And it was hard for me, but I learned that in order to be successful, you had to serve others. And that's what I did. Second point was, I had to have a great attitude. I chose to have a good attitude, even though everything that was going on around me, I felt was negative. I chose to have a good attitude and encourage my teammates. The third point was perseverance. I learned to persevere through adversity, no matter what the situation that was going on around me, that I had to push harder and go harder. Even though I could not be out there physically with my teammates, I was their emotional leader. I went on to have 3 more surgeries at Ohio State, and my career was cut short. But I also went on to be 3-time co-captain. And to this day, my teammates, they call me teammate. They don't even call me Tanya. They call me teammate because that's what I was to them. I was a great teammate. And so I encourage everyone that you may not have the best career, you may be the last person on the bench, and that's okay. But what you can control is your attitude. You can't control serving others and loving others. You can't control persevering and fighting through adversity.
Awesome, thank you. Can you, either of you, talk to me a little bit about confidence and the importance of confidence as an athlete on the playing field, but then maybe also the importance of confidence in life and when you're tackling tough situations in life?
Yes. So, as far as confidence, I mean, it carries over. When you are after you're done playing sports and you're going into your career, they're looking for athletes because athletes have this confidence about them. And athletes they're coachable. So all employees want an athlete who has confidence about them, who's coachable. As far as from a sports standpoint, for me, I go by, there's a scripture, it's 1 Corinthians 9:24. And it always talks about running your race. Okay, so it says, in a race, do you not know that all the runners run, but run in such a way that only you get the prize? So it took me a while to understand really what that meant. Yes, we all have an opponent. We're trying to defeat our opponents, but our biggest competitor is ourselves. So I had to learn that every day, or even now, every day that I step into the game of life, as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, with my business partner, as a coach, I'm trying to be better and greater than I was yesterday in all those areas of my life. Okay? I am running this race so that I can win the prize. I can't look to my left and I can't look to my right. I can't look at what the mom or the business owner or the coach is doing to my left. I can't look at, who X, Y, and Z, what they're doing to my right. I have to have blinders on because I can get caught up and wrapped up in a culture. Who here has Instagram or Twitter? How many times are you going about your day, taking your pictures or, flexing, taking shots of your games, you're making shots or you're running for, touchdowns. And then you log into Twitter, you log into Instagram, and someone else's highlight video comes up. Or someone else's picture on this, nice vacation with mom and dad. Or someone else their guns are bigger than yours, and you're like, all of a sudden, you were here, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm not as good as I thought I was. I'm not as, I don't look as pretty as I thought I was. And all of a sudden we start to internalize that message that we're receiving from that outside world, that feedback. Where everything gives us feedback, missed shots, strikeouts, overthrown passes. It's a feedback on what do we need to adjust. So then we go and we start trying to change ourselves. We try to fit ourselves into the culture, So the confidence that sports gives you, I was at a prayer breakfast with my mom when I was about 22, and a woman passed a note along to me before I left, and it said, "Dare to be different." So that day I was challenged to go against the fray, not go with the culture. I had to have the confidence and the self-belief in myself from within which came from my background in sports, to not be afraid to be different. Even on my journal right here, it says, go your own way. You can't be afraid to go your own way. The reason that employers want athletes, because athletes can go their own way. Athletes are coachable. They have the confidence that they don't feel like they have to blend in and fit in. We can think outside the box and we can be great teammates. And we can practice our services, and have an attitude of servitude.
Very good, very good. I think it comes down to preparation. When you are prepared, you are confident. And what we instill in our athletes is to prepare yourself. That's in the weight room, that's in the off season, that's running on the track. Dewan and I were probably the biggest competitors, and we prepared ourselves. Even we were friends in high school. Actually, we competed against each other. My team will always win, but
I would shut her down. I have videos of it. And I was a post player.
all right. I fouled her out every time I was a point guard. But anyways, preparation is the key. And so you have to prepare yourself, not only on the field, but off the field, in the classroom. Prepare for your exams. Prepare for your competition. We always teach to dominate your competition. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is to practice and prepare yourself. Prepare yourself.
That's great advice. And I guess my last question for both of you is, you both have kind of been at the pinnacle, right? Like you've played Division I sports. There's so many people that aspire to do that, maybe even student athletes in this room. And you both have coached. So talk to me a little bit, either from the student athlete perspective or coaching perspective. What do you think the most important attribute that these student athletes should be focusing on as they aspire to achieve their goals?
I would say definitely being coachable, listening to your coach, making eye contact with your coach. It's hard to coach athletes who don't want to do the right things, who don't want to take accountability for their actions, both on and off the court or off the playing field. You have to learn how to, one, accept criticism, right? You're not always going to be right, and that's fine, but you got to be able to listen to your coaches and then apply what they tell you.
Just piggyback what she said. Yeah, it's a character builder. You're building your character here. Athletes are here to help us build our character. Who's heard of John Wooden? Okay. Yeah. So I'm dating myself. He had a quote. His quote was, "Sports don't build character, they reveal character." And every time you're on the court, every time you're in practice, every time you have an opportunity to be coachable, or every time you have an opportunity to lift a teammate up, that's revealing your character. Okay? These are character building, being on that playing field, on that court. Take it as a character building opportunity. I have, it's kind of a funny story. I was in 7th grade, again, remember, I was a very fierce competitor. I did not like losing. And I'm in this game, and we're losing our first game. We're undefeated, losing our first game. And then I fouled out. So I walked over I was mad I fouled out. I probably argued with the official. I walked over to the stage. First thing I saw was my water bottle. I picked my water bottle up. Instead of just getting on the stage and sitting down, I decided I was going to pick up this water bottle, and there was a bunch of props from a play the year before, tall pillars, and I decided to chuck my water bottle to the back of the stage. And if that wasn't a big enough scene, the water bottle exploded, hit the prop in the perfect place. The prop just tumbled over and knocked other props down. So it made this big scene. If I would have just taken my medicine and fouled out and walked away, I would have been okay. I would have been mad, but I would have been okay. Fast forward, 3 years ago, I'm back in my hometown watching my nephew play a game. After the game, someone comes up to me. "Dewan Shackelford? I remember you. My daughter played against you. I remember this game. We heard all these things about you and how good of a player you were in 7th grade. And I just remember you fouled out." And I'm shaking my head. I'm saying, "Don't do it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it." And she goes, "And then you walked over," and she just replayed that whole incident. And she goes, and we were thinking, just stop, just stop, just stop. And so here I am, 25 years later, and that one incident in this parent's mind defined who I was as a person. All right, all it takes is that one incident for someone to form an impression of you and define who you are. So use every opportunity as a character building opportunity, but also let it reveal your character.
That's awesome. Thank you both. Let's give one more round of applause for Tanya.
Thank you, ladies. Let's give them one more round of applause, shall we? Our next presenter this morning is the Dean of the School of Business and Government at Ohio Christian University. He's the owner and president of Kenosis Limited, an organizational change consulting firm where he teaches and mentors leaders to be the message of high character. Former clients include the NFL, United States Postal Service, the state of Ohio. Dr. Monty Laub also served as Assistant Secretary of State here in Ohio from 1999 to 2007. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Monty Laub.
Good morning, MSL student athletes. How are you today? Welcome to Ohio Christian University. We're thrilled to have you. You wouldn't know this, but for the last 2 years, we have been thinking about this very day. So the fact that we're here, we're doing this, we're excited. We're excited. We're hoping that you're getting some things that will help you on the field, off the field. How many of you out there like to be in control of things? A few folks like me, I see. You like things to go your way? Now, you know what they call us, don't you? They call us control freaks. Because we want to be in charge, we don't want any surprises, we want it to go a certain way. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that you and I have 100% control of our lives? We don't, do we? Now, take, for example, our finances. You can have the best financial advisor, you can diversify your portfolio, you can have a great 401k, you can have medium cap, large cap bonds, you can have everything you want, but we can't control the stock market, can we? We can't control the trade war with China, all these things that affect our portfolio and our finance, we can't control it totally. How about our health? Do you think you can control your health 100%? Yeah. Wow, you guys, my adult audiences don't get that. We can have the best diet. We can be gluten-free, fat-free, every kind of free possible. We can have a great exercise routine. We can do it by the book. But guess what? If you have a family history of something, you have something genetic, you can't totally control all of that, even though you're doing the best you can to control things. So, what I want to talk about is how do we deal with change in our lives. I tell my college students that this is the best time of their lives. And I feel that way about you guys because you know what? Being athletes, you get to use your sport or sports to be a laboratory of life. To deal with adversity, to deal with the good times, to deal with the bad times, to deal with winning seasons, to deal with losing seasons. Those are the things, if you can get a handle on that now, that's going to help you for life. Make sense? There's a Russian author by the name of Leo Tolstoy. I love this quote. He said, everybody thinks about changing the world, but no one thinks about changing themselves. What Tolstoy is saying here is that, you know what? If our coach would get his or her act together, if our starting this or that would get their act together, we'd be better, we would win. If our superintendent, our school board, they'd pay money to get us a new field, we'd be better. And the list goes on with excuses as to why somebody else ought to get their act together, and if they get their act together, then guess what? Then I'll be better. But where do you think change starts? Here. It starts with me, and that's what Tolstoy is saying, is that, guess what? We are all prone to self-deception. We all have that rear view mirror that we don't see that car coming. And so, guess what? We may think we've got it all together when we really don't. And so this whole idea of what Tolstoy is saying is, guess what? If we want to see change, positive change, it starts here, it starts with me. I can't have any kind of influence and moral authority with my teammates until I demonstrate consistently that I know what I'm talking about. And I'm not only talking the talk, but I'm walking the talk. A football coach I admire, he once said, I see better than I hear. It's easy for people to talk a good game, but it's a whole other thing to walk it and to demonstrate it. And when we can do it, especially during adverse times, it makes all the difference to our teammates. It lifts them up as well. So what I want to do is I want to share, you didn't know you were going to go to math today, did you? Yeah, I got you. A little algebraic formula here, all right? I want to talk about how you and I can change, all right? So stay with me, because when you or I have reached rock bottom, wherever we are, okay, we're tired of the way things are. That's the status quo. When we've reached rock bottom, plus we see that there may be a glimmer of a light at the end of the tunnel. There may be a preferred future. And that light at the end of the tunnel is not a train coming at us. Okay? But there's something that's saying, hey, this could possibly work out. When we're at rock bottom, we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then we have the courage to take the first step. We take a risk, and all three of those things packaged together are greater than the current pain that you or I are in. Then change is possible. Change is possible. Well, Dr. Lyle, what does that really look like? Glad you asked, because what I want to do is I want to take a look at 3 different scenarios, okay? So the first one, we're going to deal with family and friends. The second one, I want to deal with here. My clicker's going to work with me here. Logan, I may need some help here. Oh, there we go, okay. Setbacks. And then the third one that I want to talk about is the whole idea of addiction. Just pictures. Yeah. All right, so let's do with this. We're going to deal with the family and friends first, in terms of an opportunity to change. So the thought is that when you're in an intense relationship with your family or maybe friends, and things aren't going your way, all right? Maybe there's some arguments and it's constant, and it's happening all the time. You're like, oh, I don't want it to be this way. Or maybe it doesn't happen all the time, but that one conflict with family or friends is so intense. Things have been said, things have been done, maybe emotional, maybe physical, but you're like, it can't get any worse than this. That could be a rock bottom. But you see that, you know what? There may be light at the tunnel, in the tunnel. There's somehow, maybe we can work this out. Maybe there could be some peace here. Maybe there could be what I call joy. Maybe there's just safety. I can see this being safe. Maybe that's what I need, just safety. When those 2 things happen, plus I'm willing to take the first steps. And what I call being carefrontational. All right? Not confrontational, carefrontational. I define being carefrontational as speaking the truth with compassion. That's being carefrontational. I'm willing to be humble. I'm willing to listen. Sometimes I think I'm listening, but I'm not listening. I'm already planning something in my head, my mind, in terms of what I want to speak back, but I'm not actually listening. And then I'm willing to change. So this whole idea of being carefrontational, I want to show you, demonstrate what carefrontational looks like, okay? Would there happen to be here in the audience anybody else by the name of Monty Love? Would there be? Oh, would you come forward, please? Oh, please. Come right up here, sir. Share this microphone with you. Come right up here, sir. Have we ever met?
Yes.
We have met. What's the relationship?
It's my dad.
Oh, okay, good. It's not a common name, is it? All right, well, let me ask you. I don't know who dressed you today. I know it wasn't me, but man, that is the ugliest looking thing. Did you got dressed in the dark? Look at it, you didn't even iron this. You're wearing that without socks. What are you thinking? You're a clown. Dang, I'm embarrassed. I don't even know who you are. Are you embarrassed? I'd be embarrassed. Don't tell your mom you dress this way. I don't have to do with that. That's crazy. Did I speak the truth with compassion? What do you mean? I was just being honest with him. I was just telling it like it is. Isn't that okay? Did I hurt your feelings?
Yes.
This is all a joke, Mom. It's all a joke. It's all a joke. I don't really mean it. You know what I did? I spoke, but I spoke my opinion, not the truth. I spoke. That is a value call. There's no truth to that. That's just the way it looks like to me. But how many times when people criticize us, and it's just their opinion, we really fall apart. We get crushed by that. And all it is their opinion. It's not the truth. And was there any compassion at all in that? None whatsoever. Mom, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. He didn't know I was going to do that to him. But you see my point. Is a lot of times we light into people and we think we're helping. I tell you what, I don't know about you, but if somebody's going to criticize me and they're going to speak truth to me, I would rather they do it with some compassion, not call me names, not put it out there on social media, come to me individually and say, hey, I think we've got a problem here. When I was the Assistant Secretary of State of Ohio, I had to discipline people and terminate people. There are times here at the university that I have to do that. That's not a fun thing to do. And it's not a fun thing to go into a family or friend situation, okay, and be carefrontational. But if we can speak not our opinion, but the truth, hey, I know this was said, okay, or this is the email or the text, or this is what's on social media, and say, that really hurt my feelings. We can go a long way toward bridging the gap and confrontations with our family and friends. I always hated it when people say, don't bring your private stuff to work, leave it at home. Well, the last thing I knew and know still is that, you know what? I think I'm a human being. And I think I have feelings and emotions. And I cannot not bring my stuff to work. And you cannot not bring whatever you're going through to school or to the playing field. It's hard, okay? But if you and I can work on this kind of a scenario, we can put it in a way that we have a peace and a joy, okay? And so that's the whole thing, is that anxiety that we feel, the stress, this is the most stressed out generation, believe it or not. For all the books say, the experts, studies, is that you all are stressed out. So in dealing with that stress, the loneliness, the anger, all those kind of things, I may feel betrayed, I may feel misunderstood. But when all those things, I've reached rock bottom, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel, I'm willing to take those first steps, and it's greater than all that kind of thing, then this whole idea of being able to actually work through all these different health factors, emotional, mental, spiritual, for me individually and also my relationships. So in terms of dealing with family and friends, that's a way that we can change. And you know what? And at one time or another, all of us are going to have family and friends that we're going to go like this with. Are we going to bury it? Are we going to put it under the rug? Or are we going to deal with it? Because the most meaningful relationships that we have can never go forward and be all we want them to be until we deal with this. So that's dealing with family and friends, okay? I also want to take a look here now at the second opportunity for change. One in the middle, setbacks, all right? So what we're looking at here is maybe you're a part of a losing culture. Maybe you're a part of a team that never wins. Maybe you're a part of a team that just gets shellacked, okay? Oh, here comes so-and-so, they're the Patsy, we can't wait to beat up on them. Maybe that is affecting you. It may be injury. You may be injury prone, and you can't have a successful year and play a sport all the way through because some nagging injury or some injury on happens. It could be a lack of playing time. I'm better than so-and-so. I should be starting. I shouldn't even be splitting time with them. I shouldn't be backing them up. I should be playing in front of them. It could be the things were going great and the coach left, and now the coach came in and you don't like the coach. You don't mix. Okay? All of these are examples of what I would call setbacks. And I don't want to show a hand, but my guess is that most folks in here have experienced something like this. So the question is, how do we respond to that? How do we respond to that so that I am the best me? All the speakers have talked about character and all this kind of stuff, persevering. Well, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty now. We're talking about specific examples that you face day in, day out. And so at this point, you're at rock bottom because of maybe one of these scenarios. Do you see light at the end of the tunnel? Maybe I'm going to get healthy in time to play later in the season or next year for sure. Okay? Maybe that's the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe you see an opportunity. Okay? So-and-so, they're graduating. Or I have an opportunity. If I do my best, I'll get more playing time. Those are the kind of things that I'm talking about from the light at the end of the tunnel with these kind of setbacks. The third part is, am I willing to take the first step to do the self-examination? Am I focused? Am I giving my best? Am I doing everything that I possibly could do? I'm an attorney, okay? I practice in Fairfield County, and you know how many times it took me to pass the bar exam? 5 times. The bar exam in Ohio is a 3-day test. It's 6 hours a day. 2 of the days are like 18 essay questions each, and in the middle day is like 200 multiple choice questions. Not a right answer, but a best answer. And the third time I took it, I missed it by half a point. And the state of Ohio would not round it up to say, you're good, you passed. So when I took it the 4th time, I was a basket case. I wasn't prepared mentally. I was feeling sorry for myself, and I didn't do well. I had to come to the realization and look myself in the mirror. No more excuses. No more excuses. You have got to give it your best, and if your best is not enough, then so be it. But I'd already did it 3 years of law school, thousands of dollars for loans, all these kind of things. I was embarrassed because people back home were like, hey, have you passed that bar exam yet? When are you going to pass that bar exam? And you feel like you failed. And I've always gave myself one little excuse, but I could always fall back on that. It was my little safety net. Does that make sense? And I know I'm not the only one who did that. We can do that. And so we have to have a heart-to-heart talk with ourselves, a hard examination in our mirror and say, am I giving my best? And if not, why not? What am I afraid of? Am I afraid of it's not going to be the best? It's not going to work out? It's not going to cut it? It's not going to be good enough? I'm going to fail? We've got to come to that realization and have that conversation. What am I motivated? Am I focused? Am I more focused on my boyfriend or my girlfriend or that kind of issue or something that's going on at home? Is something distracting me from actually giving my best during this period of time? Okay? And then am I willing to persevere and work it goes back to that whole thing, as I hear people talk, oh yeah, I'll go do this, I'll go do what it takes, but then they don't actually go do it. So that's a hard conversation for us to have, and hopefully you and I have people in our lives that can have that conversation with us. So that when we do, the uncertainty we feel, the loss of control, all the fear of these kind of things, all right? When all that is greater than the pain that we're in, man, there's the possibility for peace of mind, actually being a better teammate, maybe actually being even a better athlete ourselves, because we've settled all that, we've taken care of it. The last thing I want to talk about here is this whole idea of addiction. Man, guys and gals, I want to tell you something. This is real. Whether it's juuling, whether it's sex, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's even social media. This whole idea today with juuling, we don't even know what's in their in the stuff. They're coming out now saying, with studies for the first time, that pulmonary issues, lung issues are occurring because people are juuling what's in this stuff. Oxycontin, fentanyl, all these kind of things that are laced, and the opioids. You know, as an attorney next door in Fairfield County, I represented a lot of people in drug courts. And a lot of my former clients had drug addiction issues. All right? It's nothing to play with. Pornography, it's rampant. It's all over the place. There's so many things that because of the pain that we're in, it's easy to fall into this. And you know what? It's the kind of stuff that we normally don't like to talk about. But it's there. It's there. So when I'm at rock bottom, when I'm so unreliable, people can't trust me, okay, I'm destructive to myself, maybe I'm willing to listen. And maybe I can see just a glimmer of hope that life can be better. I don't have to go around and spend all this time and energy lying to cover up this stuff, okay? And I'm willing, again, to take the first steps to see that I need help. How many of us like to admit I need help? But if we could do that, if we could make ourselves accountable to other people, man alive. And all of those three steps are greater. Is that clear? Well, this is I feel like I'm in my classroom. Because sometimes the social media stuff doesn't work. Now here we go, okay? Maybe I'm beating myself up. Maybe there's self-hate involved. Maybe there's guilt. Maybe there's brokenness. But when those three factors are greater than that current pain, man, real transformation is possible. Real transformation is possible. You know what? Right now, you and I are building a legacy. It may not feel that way, but we are. I want to end with a quick story about a wide receiver that used to play for the Cincinnati Bengals by the name of Chris Henry. Chris Henry was a fabulous athlete. He went to West Virginia University, had different issues at West Virginia, okay? Then he came to the Cincinnati Bengals, fabulous wide receiver, but in and out of trouble, fined by the league, had issues. But toward the end of his career in 2009, Chris Henry was making changes in his own life. Making changes. He was a better teammate, all these different kind of things. And I'll never forget that just a few weeks before he passed away, I had that chance and opportunity to meet him. And we went to the practice field and watched him and looked at him and talked with him, and very kind. Yes, sir. No, sir. Hey, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to your family and all this kind of stuff. Mom, who was up here, that was him, number 3 jersey, and his cousin on the left. Don't let the guys leave. I want to go talk to him. He came up to the practice, just so kind, just a great guy. And later, just a few weeks later, they had a bye week, and he went home to North Carolina. And he got into a verbal altercation with his fiance. His fiance left, got in the truck, and was leaving. He jumped in the back of the pickup truck. Somewhere down the road, he was thrown out of the pickup truck, hit his head, developed a hemorrhage, and died. And you say, what was Chris Henry's legacy? Chris Henry was being a great teammate. He's being great to young kids, fans. But also when he died, they took his corneas, they took his lungs, his heart, his kidneys, his pancreas, and gave it to 4 people who were able to live because of Chris Henry. That's his legacy. My question for you as I leave the stage is, what's your legacy? You're on the clock now, okay? You're on the clock now. And you know what? That is something that you can control. You're going to get opportunities to do it, whether it's family altercations, friend altercations, setbacks, addictions. You're going to get opportunities, not only now, but through life, to make those changes to set your legacy. Thank you guys. It's been a great audience.
We are excited about this next speaker, this next presenter this morning. His name is Dr. Ron Layton. He's responsible for physical security and cyber fusion in the financial services sector, formerly Deputy Assistant Director of the United States Secret Service. If there's ever been a guy that's been on the inside, Ron Layton is that guy. He was first presidentially appointed White House Technology Liaison responsible for the daily operations and long-term strategy for information systems provided to the President of the United States. And he has worked for 4 different presidential administrations, starting with Clinton, Bush, Obama, and now Trump. So, please, help me welcome to the platform, Dr. Ron Layton.
Afternoon, everybody. Don't let me forget that. So, who likes free stuff? All right, everybody likes free stuff. One of the things that I'm going to tell you at the end of this is, guess what? No? Would you say nothing's free? Not exactly true. Not exactly true. Remember this. At the end, I'm going to give you this thing I called Ron's Rules, but I'm going to jump out of sequence a little bit just because I want to just have a conversation with you. This isn't a presentation, it's not a speech, it's just a regular convo, all right? But guess what? Dreams are free. They don't cost you anything. So since they're free, always, always, always dream big. Got it? Don't forget that. So, it is amazing what you can do under the influence of your own belief. Amazing. So I'm going to have a series of conversations with you today just about a couple of things that have happened to me, things that I know about. All these stories are true. If there's time at the end, I need to get going here. I only got 18 minutes. All right. So I am Ron Layton. I was a former Deputy Assistant Director in the U.S. Secret Service. One of my favorite jobs, though, is I spent you've heard of like the Delta Force, Navy Team 6? Our partners in the Secret Service was the Presidential Counter-Assault Team. So I spent 7 years as an operator on the President's Counter-Assault Team in Iraq and Afghanistan, all kinds of stuff, everything. And I was a football player in college, I'm in my school's Hall of Fame, bling bling. The point is that everything that I've ever done in my professional career, I've always drawn on from what I did when I was you guys, all right? I'm the only knucklehead in the Secret Service to ever have 2 PhDs. I've got a PhD in electrical engineering because I am a geek at heart, and I've got a PhD in business administration. All of these things, like little things that you all kind of intuitively know as athletes, guess what? I do too. But I drew on all that to get me to where I am. All right, let me set up a couple of things for you that I'm going to run through quite quickly. And remember what I said, it's amazing what folks can do under the influence of their own belief. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say that there's a car right here, all right? And like where you are, there's a door, and then somebody's walking out of that door, and then they go to get in the car, right? So I will tell you this, that there was someone else, this is all true, there was someone else who was standing, I would say about here, and he's waiting for this guy to get in the car. Well, who is it that this guy is? Well, it's Ronald Reagan, president before all of you were born. If you might, have seen commercials or you know the name, that kind of thing. Everyone of any age knows what, and Ronald Reagan was the governor of California, is a revered president at this point in our history. Anyway, he's walking to get in the car, and there's a guy who just happens to be over here, and as the president is getting out of the car, there's a guy whose name is John Hinckley. And what he does, he pulls out a little pistol and goes, bang, 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 bang. 6 shots. 4 people are shot that day. So what ends up happening is all of those 3 shots are in less than 3 seconds, or those 6 shots, less than 3 seconds, all right? At the end of that, 4 people are shot, 2 law enforcement officers, 1 press secretary, and the President of the United States are shot. Now there's a guy named Jerry Parr, who is the head of the President's detail. It's a big deal. It's like whoever your favorite sports team is, it's like being captain of the team. Head of the President's detail, really big deal. We've only had 36 in the history of the 150 years of the Secret Service, all right? So, athletes always talk about reaction time, right? So guess what? From the time that first shot went off, 1.8 seconds later, Jerry Parr gets President Reagan into that car, into alleged safety. Now, there's another thing that just happens here. There's a guy named Tim McCarthy who stands there like this after he hears the first shot, and guess what? This is the ultimate take one for the team, right? He gets shot right here. Now, I need to pause at this point. This is an example of doing something that's darn sure greater than yourself. He's responsible for the life of the President of the United States, and all of the days that I went to work, I lived with this too. You might have to do this. Now, of course, there are other people around who are going to take care of that guy, but it might not be your day to do that either. But the point is, he takes one in the stomach, and then Mr. Parr gets President Reagan into the car. When he gets him into the car, the protocol says, go back to the White House, because that's where all of the safety stuff is. That's where all the guns are. That's where everything is to keep you safe. He does a quick assessment. He sees that there's some blood coming out of the president's mouth, and he goes, stop, we're going to GW. Okay, now we're gonna go to the hospital. Huge break of protocol. Guess what? That break of protocol saved President Reagan's life. Saved his life. There is all the medical experts at this point agree what happened. Now, here's the piece that you don't know. And the truth is, it's not really written anywhere, all the documentaries, all that kind of stuff. All right, so the person who doesn't get any credit that day, I don't know why, they weren't taking an Uber, right? That's right, who said that? Yes, the driver. The driver's name was Drew Unruh. And here's what you just kind of have to know about Secret Service. Everything is planned, and then there's a plan B, and then there's a plan C. All right? So what ends up happening is that Drew has to deviate from the route, but he doesn't even take the plan B. It's called the transportation section. So what he did is he spent extra time learning all of the back routes to the hospital, and that's what he used that day. So why am I telling you this? There's no shortcuts to greatness, right? If he doesn't do that, he just runs what we call the primary, because of course, nothing's gonna happen, right? Or maybe he runs the secondary, that's all he knows. But when it really counts, and I mean counts in the history of our great nation, he is able to exercise that shortcut that he took that isn't really in any history books. It's not like a regular Secret Service motorcade where we're waiting for all the cops and, the lights start and all this other kind of stuff and this big production. No, it's not that at all. So you need to know that there are no shortcuts to greatness, all right? I'm going to read you something that most Americans will never hear, but I want to tease out this notion of being able to exercise your belief. And while I'm doing this, I want to put it in your mind right now. And I'm telling you, this is a hard question. If I ask 10 of you, I'm going to get 10 different answers, which is okay. But you'll find out, I promise, as you get older, this question becomes more relevant and it becomes more difficult because it will not be just one thing. What do you believe in? People want to talk about leadership and all this other kind of stuff. That's great. I asked 5 different people, what's leadership? I get 5 different answers. But you will never find a true leader that can't also tell you what he or she believes in. So start to think about that. I want to read this to you. I heard this when I graduated the Secret Service Academy 20-something years ago, all right? Guess what? We had a graduation in the Secret Service. I say we, I'm retired, I don't work there anymore. But there was a graduation last month. Guess what? Those agents heard the same thing. Almost no Americans have heard what I'm going to tell you. And it was from the same guy who saved President Reagan's life. So this is what's read at the Academy. Everybody hears this. I want you to think about it. Here's the words. As you are commissioned today, it means you get a identification, a badge that you probably will carry with you for the rest of your life. Like I have my retired credentials in my back pocket today. As you are commissioned today, there are men and women, perhaps younger than you, who are completing classes somewhere in the world, also in other training camps. We call these men and women terrorists. They call themselves patriots. They are people who are focused and willing to die for a cause. Somewhere, sometime in this generation, you may be asked to face these people. Here's the important part. It is a strange paradox that they and we resemble one another, yet are totally dedicated to opposing beliefs. Your training will give you the decisive edge to win that battle. What do you choose to believe in? What do you believe? And how does that influence who and what you are and who and what you will be? It's a very deep-seated question. All right, let's go on to part 2 of this. Part 2 is, it's kind of cool working at the White House. I worked in 4 different administrations. Everybody says, what's your favorite president? Did you ever meet the president? Did you ever fly on Air Force One? Did you ever blah, 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 blah? Answer to that for me, yeah, all that. And then some, all right? So the point is that if you're working day shift, here's the way it works. There's days, just like on a police department, there's days, there's afternoons, there's midnights, then you go into a training cycle for 2 weeks, right? Remember that team I told you on, everybody in here is an athlete? Here's what you need to do to have the privilege of selection to get into the school, not past the school, right? You gotta have 5 years on the job as an agent. If you wanna go be like that kind of person, here's what you need to do. You need to do 3 chins with 45 pounds of gear, all right? Get off that bar, a quarter of a mile run, sprint. At the end of that sprint, you need to do a qualification with 3 weapons. At the 100, you need an M4, that's a rifle. At the 50, that's a pistol. And at the 25, that's a shotgun. Oh, by the way, did I mention you need to do that in under 3 minutes and 30 seconds? Everybody on my team was all like y'all. We were all athletes, all were high school, college football players, all of that stuff. So what happens is you're going to find out that there are certain professions that have an attraction to certain people. All right, let's speed the story up here. So what ends up happening is 3:30 in the morning, you got to wake up for day shift, right? I am not a morning person, which means I got to have a plan. I got to have my gun, my vest, my pens, my earpiece, like right here. Like those dudes that can just get up at 2 in the morning because they got to get their work out on. No, sorry. Now, I promise you, I have been in many a gym at midnight. That's me. But you got to know who you are, right? All that stuff on, get to work, right? And then once you get to work, get your briefing, where are we going that day, and now you're in the White House, right? And you will be the first person that the president joining at 5:30. First question I'd like to ask people is, okay, it's 5:30 in the morning. Do you, Mr. Obama or Mr. Trump, do you shake their hand? Yes or no? Good morning, sir. What do you think? Anybody say yes? Okay, a lot of no's out there. Right, okay. All right, so let's get past that. So your goal is to walk them into the Oval Office, right? So it's a weird thing because it's not what you think, because you got to get on the radio. President Trump's call sign is mobile. You got to tell the command post, mobile first floor, en route Oval. Okay, but it's this little thing because you're letting them in, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And so it's a pacing. So now is when I tell people, you've heard life is not a sprint. It's starts with an M. Right, none of that's true, right? So it's a triathlon, meaning you got to have all of these different skills, right? Some of you are going to have to be, some of you will have to be as fluent in JavaScript as you are Mandarin. You're going to have to do all of this kind of stuff. All of you will change jobs 10 times in your life, at least. Not like my generation, right? I worked for the Alpha for 26 years. All right, so you got to remember that. Now you're on your way to the Oval, you're getting there. This really happened to me. I'm trying to get the president into the Oval Office, and I can't get in the daggone door because there's a procedure. I would tell you this, but it's a secret if you promise not to tell anybody. Now you're not going to tell anybody? You're going to tell anybody? All right, so if you're ever at the door of the Oval, if you go just like this and go like this on the side of the door, there's a button there. And it goes click, and then you look at the president. Okay, fine. Guess what? I go click. Doesn't work. Doesn't work, doesn't work, doesn't work. Right? So, have you ever heard, if I give you a fish, I feed you for a day. If I teach you to fish, I feed you for? Right. Not really true either. And I tell you why it's not true. It's not true because it presupposes that there's fish in the pond. Wow, I didn't think about it that way. Right. Life is about what do you do when there's no fish in the pond. Some people I heard the doctor with the cognitive psychology stuff talk about problem solving. Guess what? The problem is what do you do when there's no fish in the pond? That kind of thing. Turns out, for this little encounter, President's secretary is looking at me, feeling foolish, for me, so she lets me in. As athletes, I would tell you, somebody's always watching you, so you need to really watch your behavior, right? Social media, right? Somebody's always watching. All right, let's go on to this last frame of something that I want to tell you about that I still today think it was troubling. I'm over in the Africa, Middle East region. And it's 5 days before the protectee gets there. That's what we call folks in the Secret Service, whether it's the president or vice president or somebody that we protect, right? I'm in a wood carver's village, right? And it just means what it says it means. There's people that are carving wood, that kind of stuff, and you get down to the end of the line and you check out. A lot of the world works on barter system, right? Okay? So I got stuff, and I go to check out, and it turns out that the young boy, probably about 14, I find out, because I'm looking at him, he's got a very bad deformity on his arm. He's got his eye that's pulled out here, and you can see that it's kind of sewn shut, missing a leg, and contorted in a way that looks very bad. So my point is that this is a war zone, so I think that this is the result of a landmine injury. I'm going to tell you what this was the result of. This was the result of his family did this to him in order to be able to solicit more money from people like me who were buying their goods. So in our great nation, even with the level of poverty in some communities, we don't even think like that. So the Savages earlier told you about, hey, the banana upside down story. That's my banana upside down story. we don't even think this way. I was later to find out that this was acceptable cultural practice in this environment. So I've got two things for you. The next time that you think you're tired, the next time that you think, I haven't had like whatever, I'm a tough love kind of like, I'm a no excuses person, right? So the next time you think you've got whatever going on, I want you to remember that young man. So I have one of the masks that his family carved in my personal study. And then every time I feel like I have a first world problem, like I sat in traffic too long, or this, or that, I think about that mask, all right? So let's tease this out a little bit more in the short moments that I have left. This was acceptable in this culture. I still have really mixed feelings about this, but I will tell you this. It is amazing what this village did under the influence of their belief. Because as I talked to this young man, he was actually happy to be able to do this in service of his village. It's very unusual, but that's what they believed. All right, so I'm going to conclude with this. I call them Ron's rules. Number one, all y'all need to hear this. First, most important rule. Number one, stay away from stupid. Right? You do dumb things happen. And you're looking at somebody who has a whole collection of stupid. I mean, I'm just telling you, stay away from stupid. Number two, always dream big, because dreams are free. They don't cost you anything, all right? Number three, figure out what you believe. It's a very deep-seated question. It only gets deeper when you get older. And then figure out how you will choose. It's one of God's greatest gifts. Figure out how you will choose to exercise your belief. And then lastly, God didn't make any of us to be average. So don't be. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you all.
Ready to move some stage here. All right. Well, we're into our final session of the day. We're going to be wrapping up here. And here at Ohio Christian University, it's our privilege and honor to honor some outstanding students among you. These students have been chosen based on some qualifications that you have probably seen on the back of your program. And we're about to give some money away here in scholarships to Ohio Christian University. And so, when I read your name, we want you to come down, and Alan will direct you to where you need to be. Coaches, athletic directors, if you want to get pictures, you should line up over there by that ramp, and we'll give you opportunity to get pictures of your students that are receiving these scholarships. This scholarship is in the amount of $3,500 if the student should so choose to attend Ohio Christian University. That's $3,500. And they are selected, in order to qualify, a student must show dedication and success in the classroom, serve in his or her community on a regular basis, be a servant leader both on and off the field or court for his or her respective team, put others before themselves daily, and contribute in some fashion to their sport. Are we ready? Okay, and here we go. The schools are in alphabetical order, and so we'll begin with Amanda Clear Creek. The female winner is Caitlin Connell. Come on down. And the male winner is Jace Miller. And the male winner is Grant Huffmaker. Female winner is Lane Graham. And the male award winner is Andy Urez. And Cade Burton. Unable to be here, Cade Burton. From Columbus School for Girls, Jordan Arnau Reese. And Ellen Monahan. From Fairfield Christian, Hope Custer. And Blaine Keener. Amelia Stansberry. And Samuel Bernard. From Hamilton Township, Grace Green. And Josiah Beverly. From Harvest Prep, Jayla Curtis. And Christopher Anthony. Josie Howell. And Caleb Peck. From Logan Elm High School, Emma Lands. Emma's not able to be with us. The male winner is Luke Baldwin. From Wellington, Elizabeth Burkhart. And Elijah Meredith. From Whitehall Yearling, Rebecca Rivadello. And Jace Peck. But certainly not least, Worthington Christian, Alexandra Friedman. And Bryce Lawrence. As we wrap up our activities here this morning that has moved into this afternoon, we're privileged to hear from Teays Valley High School Athletic Director, but most relevant, Mid-States League Commissioner, Mr. Jim Hayes.
Just like to take this opportunity before we dismiss you tonight to give a big thanks out to our committee that's been working for the last few months to put this together. We had Steve Evans from Amanda Clear Creek, Janet McCloskey from Liberty Union, Bill Hewitt from Whitehall Yearling, Lindsay Smith from the Wellington School, Brad Pertany from Grandview Heights, and one of our other ones that was on the planning committee has since changed schools, but Matt Blanton from Grove City Christian was very active in the planning of this, and we certainly send a huge thank you to OCU, their staff, their administration, their sports management group for assisting in putting this on. The thing that I would challenge each of you to do when you go back to your home schools, as the president shared with you in the very opening comments, is take this back and share what you've learned today. That's your challenge, is take the things that you've learned today and share them with others. We heard that throughout the day. Compassion and sharing, loving and caring for your teammates, your classmates, your family, and that's all part of what this is all about. Thank you for your attention today. There's food